Empire at War is a real-time strategy game set in the Star Wars universe. It actually takes place before Episode 4, which is the original Star Wars movie from the late 70s. And in it, you can take part in a story campaign where you can control either the Empire or the Rebels, and it all revolves around the Death Star.
We are victorious.
The interesting thing about the design in Empire at War is that they've got a two-layered strategy thing going on. In one view, you're looking at the galactic view of the map, so you can see about 3 dozen or more planets in the system. And you can take control of these different planets, and they all offer you credits, which is money, which you use to buy new weapons and more soldiers for your army. And also the planets offer special bonuses. So the planets that you control is an important strategic consideration. Space battle in Empire at War works when 2 different fleets clash over a planet. So if you're in control of the planet and you have planetary defenses there, you can actually shoot up from the planet at the invading fleet with maybe an ion cannon or a hypervelocity cannon that's mounted on the planet. And they can't get at that. But otherwise, the space battles are just like that you've seen in the movies. You've got these huge Imperial Star Destroyers, Mon Calamari cruisers, they're all clashing. And you've got these tiny little fighters that are just buzzing around. There's some tactical elements to consider there, like space stations that help out in the defense of a system. And you can also target hard points on each of the ships, so you can specifically take out the hangar or the ion cannon or the laser cannon on specific ships. Land battles take place when you send in ground troops onto a planet's surface. And like the space battles, there's some interaction between what's going on in space and what's actually happening on the surface. So if you've got a fleet in orbit over the planet, you can actually call in bombing runs to help you out on top of the planet. The land battles aren't really quite as fun as the space battles because the artificial intelligence isn't quite as good. They'll basically just send units straight at you, but it's still fun to look at. You've got your AT-ATs walking around, lumbering around. You can trample on top of infantry. And the object is really to just take over that planet by taking out all the enemy buildings. And you'll need to do that by controlling all the reinforcement points so you can make your army bigger in that battle. So each side in the game has special hero units that can really turn the tide of battle, and they're quite an array of them. If you're in the Rebellion, you've got C-3PO and R2-D2. If you send them into a land battle, they can hack into enemy turrets and cause them to shoot at their own units, which is pretty cool. It's important to keep your heroes alive because they can really help you out over the course of the campaign. So even though there are only 2 factions in the game, the Rebels and the Alliance, they actually play out pretty differently. The Empire is probably easier to learn at first because they gather up money a lot quicker. So you can build up these huge armies and send them at the enemy and just knock them over with sheer numbers. The Rebels, they don't have as much money. They have to steal their technology from the Alliance, and they can't build up these huge forces. But they get some advantages, such as being able to use a small raiding party, and you can land it on a planet even if that planet's guarded by an Imperial fleet. And they can also always see what units the Empire has on every planet, whereas the Empire can't do that. There are a couple primary modes in Empire at War. There's the campaign mode, which involves the story between the Rebels and the Alliance, and you can play as either side. And there's also a galactic conquest mode. It's a little more general. It's not as story-driven. And the galaxy can range in size from as small as 8 planets to as many as about 43 different planets. So in that way, you can vary up how long you want the game to go by choosing the galactic conquest mode. There are also skirmish modes where you can just play a single land battle or a single space battle. And the way you build up your structures and your money is different. You have to send out your army and capture certain points in the map, which gives you more money. And that's how most of your multiplayer action is going to play out as well. Empire at War looks and sounds absolutely fantastic. There's a cinematic camera that you can switch to that gives you a movie-like view of the battlefield. But even in the zoomed-out view, the game looks great. All the character models move around really well. There's some learning curve involved, but if you're familiar at all with any strategy games, you can get right into it pretty quickly. So if you're a strategy game fan and you like Star Wars, chances are you're really going to like Empire War a lot.